pleasure to introduce our former District 36 director, a distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest level of Toastmasters that our Bonnie Maidak has achieved. She's also been a longtime member of this club for more than a decade and kept it going during our boom times and our lean times. And she is going to lead us in table topics. Bonnie?
Thank you, Carol. And today's table topics are all around the word hot, because it sure has been hot and it will be hot. And we're continuing to be hot for a while, I think. I have some phrases that you're going to choose a phrase, and then I have a question for you. And I'm going to do this hopefully in a way that Zoom is going to let me do it, but it isn't going to let me do it. So we'll just do it this way. So I have some phrases and I want you to, and I know that it's not showing the right thing. Give me another moment, please. Okay, let's try this one more time. Here we go. And we have a small group, everyone has a role. However, I'm still going to select people. Betsy, I'm going to select you first. I can time for you if you want me to do that. I want you to choose one of the 9 phrases on the screen. So hot air, hot-blooded, hot fuzz, etc. What's your favorite phrase?
Thank you, Bonnie. My phrase that I'm going to choose is hot sauce.
Okay.
I just happened to be traveling to Minnesota for a business trip with my nonprofit, and I was in discussion with the food and beverage director of a hotel and was complimenting them on some sausage that they had made, and they had said it had a little bit of a kick. And it did. It was just a little bit of a spiciness that it just hit the right spot. It was delicious. It was just enough spice to make it interesting. So I was complimenting him on the sausage, and he said, yeah, it's Minnesota spicy. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, it's just on the edge of too much for some of the folks in Minnesota. That Minnesota spicy, he said, some people will say ketchup is about as spicy as they're going to go. They just don't like the spice too much. I have a little bit of experience with my wife who's from Cleveland, and she would adhere to the Minnesota spicy paradigm. This is not, it's 0 on the Scoville units. It doesn't even, in my opinion, excite the tongue at all. It's just smooth. But I appreciated that they pushed the boundaries a little bit with what they called their rope sausage, and it hit my perfect spot for spicy. It wasn't too much. It was just enough, and it was more tasty than ketchup. Thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Leader.
Okay, and thank you, Betsy. And you actually interpreted the question I was going to ask you, and that is about cuisines that are hot. So that was great. I'm going to ask Osita Mega to choose one of the 9 phrases, and then I'll ask you the question that relates to that phrase. Osita Mega?
I'll choose hot water.
Hot water? Is that what I heard? Okay.
Yes.
So the phrase hot water has to do with people who get into trouble. And the question then is to tell us a funny or amusing story about getting into trouble, either yourself or someone that you know. Take it away, Osita Mega.
Okay, thank you so much, Betsy. So as you talked about getting into trouble, it's memory of my childhood came to me again. So as a child, I was very quiet, but I was very thoughtful. So I think on this, as my mother narrates to me, on this particular day, I went outside because I like being by myself sometimes. So I was by myself and I began to write on the wall outside the house. But I wasn't writing on the wall to my own house. I was writing on another neighbor's wall. So I had finished, scribbling all that I wanted. And my mom comes and sees all that I've done. And she's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, in my childhood state, I'm like happy, like, I did something, I thought I'd done some work of art or something. And she says, "You're going to clean it." So she gives me a pail of water and I begin to clean every single thing I put on the wall. So that was a lot of hot water I was in. And of course, little me was, began to cry because I thought it was something beautiful. And also having to like take the napkin and clean everything was also hurting my hands. So that was a bit of hot water I got in. But thankfully, I got out of it nicely. The punishment wasn't too stiff. So good.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Sunny, if you're willing to answer our last table topic question, you can choose one of the remaining hot topics and then I'll give you the question.
Sure. Hot topic.
Okay, hot topic is saying that it's actually a clothing store for teenagers. I did not know that until last night, and I'll explain what that reference is. But I want you to tell us something about the fashion when you were a teenager. So what were the hot and trendy fashion items when you were a teenager? Sunny?
So when I was a teenager, Hot Topic was very trendy. And I must confess that I had purchased many different items from Hot Topic, much to my mother's chagrin. When I was a kid, I grew up with a mom who was a former teen beauty pageant winner. She had the hair, the nails, the makeup, and all I wanted to do was roll in the mud and play basketball all day. I also did not have a surfeit of fashion sense. So I typically walked around in oversized t-shirts, ridiculous shorts. I was not a snappy dresser. Again, much to my mother's chagrin. When I got to high school, I wanted to become one of the cool kids. So I, as a child, had played saxophone and piano and had a little bit of musical sensibilities. So I picked up the bass and started singing in bands, and I became a punk rocker. Part of that transformation was dyeing my hair black and going out and buying all the Hot Topic clothes, the parachute pants with the ridiculous chains hanging off of them, the black strappy tees with the fishnet long sleeves over top. I looked ridiculous in retrospect. But at the time, it seemed like it was what made me cool and fit in. Still to this day, when I think about being a kid and going to shopping malls, I look back fondly on my time going to Hot Topic. I don't have any of those clothes anymore, but I still sometimes want to throw in a pair of balloon pants and rock out.
That sounds great. Thank you. I referenced that I had not heard of Hot Topic as a fashion store until last night. And that was because last night at my club meeting, these same hot topics were given by that table topic master. And I thought, you know what, this will work tomorrow for our US Senate Club. So that's one of the benefits of being in more than one club is you get to share ideas from one club to another. This concludes the table topics. I'll return control back to our toast leader of the day, Carol.